Welcome to Cluster Fudge, where we unravel the messy, tangled truths hiding in plain sight. I'm your host, Alexandra. Today's episode may make you pause, it might make you cringe, or it might make you realise you've already been sucked in. We're talking about America's strange obsession with scammers, con artists and fraudsters, from Elizabeth Holmes to Anna Delvey, from Jordan Belfort to Frank Abagnale, from multi-level marketing gurus to influencers selling lies on Instagram. Why do we glorify deception? Why do we reward manipulation? And what does this say about American culture, values, and vulnerabilities? Let's pull back the curtain. No gimmicks, no filters, just the uncomfortable truth. Why do so many con artists in America end up with book deals, movie adaptations, cult followings, and sometimes comeback careers? It's almost a rite of passage in the US. Scam someone, lie, cheat, or defraud millions, and if you're slick enough or charismatic enough, you might just become a pop culture icon. We've seen this play out time and time again. Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, orchestrated massive pump-and-dump stock schemes in the 90s. He cost investors over $200 million, devastated lives. And now? He's a best-selling author, has a podcast, charges tens of thousands to speak at events, and was portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio in a Martin Scorsese blockbuster. He went from criminal to cultural icon. Then there's Anna Delvey, real name Anna Sorokin, a Russian-German grifter who convinced New York's elite she was a wealthy heiress. She conned hotels, friends, banks, and investors out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what happened next? Netflix made a mini-series about her. She gained thousands of followers. She now sells her artwork, speaks on podcasts, and is reportedly developing more content about her life. Elizabeth Holmes, founder of Theranos, promised to revolutionize healthcare. Instead, she lied about her product's capabilities and put people's health at risk, all while cashing in millions in investor dollars. Her fall from grace was plastered everywhere, but not with complete condemnation. She became a cultural fascination, almost a tragic figure rather than a calculated deceiver. The list goes on. Frank Abagnale Jr., the inspiration behind Catch Me If You Can, Billy McFarland, the mastermind behind the fraudulent Fire Festival, MLM boss babes who now rebrand as wellness coaches or entrepreneur mentors. So the question becomes, why does American culture glorify these figures instead of rejecting them? A deeper cultural obsession, charisma over character. In America, we love a hustler. We love someone who figures out how to win, even if the rules are bent or broken. There's a myth woven into the American identity, the self-made individual, the rebel who beats the system, the underdog who makes it by any means necessary. And that myth is dangerous because it blurs the line between ambition and exploitation. We're conditioned to admire risk-takers, to applaud confidence, even when it's based on nothing but smoke and mirrors. And for many scammers, that's the entire game. Projecting success, selling illusions, and tapping into people's deepest desires: wealth, power, beauty, exclusivity. Charisma becomes currency. Confidence becomes credibility. It's not just about what they did, it's how good they made it look while doing it. Scamming as spectacle. In the age of TikTok, Instagram, Netflix docuseries, and endless media content, a good scam isn't just a crime, it's entertainment. We binge-watch scams like we binge reality TV. But this entertainment has real consequences. It normalizes manipulation. It reduces harm to a story arc. It encourages the idea that if you're caught, just get a Netflix deal. We reward deception with visibility, and visibility becomes validation. The cult of the con is the cult of celebrity. At the heart of this is a broader American obsession: celebrity worship. We conflate fame with worth, attention with success, visibility with morality. If someone's on the cover of a magazine, on a Netflix doc, or trending on social media, we assume they must have done something right, even when, in reality, they did everything wrong. This is the paradox. We hate being scammed, but we love the scammer's story. We're angry when it happens to us, but we're captivated when it happens to someone else. And that double standard is part of why the cult of the con continues to grow. To really understand why America is so enchanted with scammers, we need to look backward into the roots of American history itself. Because the truth is, scamming and hustling are not but bugs in the system. their features woven into the fabric of the nation's identity. Colonial foundations, land lies, and survival. Let's go all the way back to the colonists. The earliest days of America were built on stories, many of them false promises. From the idea of the New World being an untouched paradise, it wasn't, to the massive land grabs that ignored indigenous sovereignty, deception was fundamental. Colonizers sold a dream of freedom and opportunity, while enslaving Africans, displacing Native Americans, and building wealth off lies and exploitation. In many ways, America was founded on a myth, a brilliant manipulative sales pitch. The so-called American dream was born from this. The idea that anyone can make it here, that hard work guarantees success, that wealth equals virtue. But in reality, it's always been more complicated and often rigged. The original American con artists, the snake oil salesmen, these were traveling hucksters who sold fake cures and magical elixirs, exploiting people's desperation and lack of medical knowledge. They didn't just sell products, they sold hope. And that's the key to most American scams. They don't steal by force. They seduce, they manipulate, they market. From miracle tonics to dodgy land deals in the West to speculative gold rush schemes, America became the land of buyer beware. The hustle was celebrated as cleverness, not criminality, as long as you got away with it. As the 1800s gave way to the early 20th century, industrialists like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, and Carnegie rose to power. Many of these captains of industry used ruthless, unethical tactics to build empires, price fixing, union busting, monopolies. They weren't called criminals, they were called visionaries. And this era gave birth to the idea that ends justify the means. Even the financial sector became synonymous with shady dealings. Think of Charles Ponzi, who gave us the term Ponzi scheme. He promised absurd returns on investments and managed to con thousands out of their life savings. He was imprisoned, but still seen by some as a genius, not a monster. Fast forward to today, and we've digitized the hustle. MLMs prey on women looking for financial freedom. Crypto brofluencers sell pipe dreams of overnight wealth. Fake finance gurus on TikTok and YouTube prey on fear and scarcity. Influencers craft elaborate lifestyles that are completely fabricated, but no less profitable. From Fire Festival to FTX, the internet has become the Wild West redux. And still, people line up to be sold the next dream. Why? Because scamming is entrepreneurship with an edge. It's the American dream in hyperdrive, where branding is truth, success is optics, and ethics are optional. Let's not ignore this. Even some of the highest offices in the country have been filled by grifters. Think of the rise of political con men, those who manipulate facts, exploit anger, and grift supporters out of donations, all while claiming to tell it like it is. Donald Trump, for example, has been involved in everything from fake universities to shady charitable foundations. But to his base, he's not a fraud. He's a fighter. Because in American mythology, if you scam the system, it just proves you're smart enough to win. What all of this shows is simple. America doesn't just tolerate hustlers, it idolizes them. From the frontier salesman to the tech bro, from the Ponzi schemer to the crypto king, the line between scammer and success story is razor thin. Scammers reflect something deeply embedded in American culture. The value of image over substance. The celebration of individualism, even if it comes at others' expense. The belief that failure is shameful, but lying to look successful is clever. It's a legacy that continues to evolve, shapeshift, and seduce. And the truth is, many Americans don't just fall for the con. They want to be the con artist. They want to beat the game, bend the rules, and come out rich on the other side, even if it means stepping on everyone else to get there. So far, we've unpacked the cult of the con and the deep historical roots of the hustle. But it's not just that scammers are clever or that Americans are naive. No. There's a system, a whole ecosystem that enables, protects, and sometimes even rewards fraud in America. Scammers thrive because the environment welcomes them. Let's break that down. 1. Lax regulation and legal loopholes. The US is a country that prides itself on freedom, especially in business. And while that freedom can be good for innovation, it's also a breeding ground for exploitation. The financial sector, in particular, is riddled with loopholes. After the 2008 financial crash, caused largely by predatory lending, mortgage fraud, and Wall Street greed, most of the perpetrators walked away with golden parachutes. Very few were prosecuted. White-collar crime is notoriously underpunished. Statistically, if you embezzle millions from investors, you're far less likely to go to prison than if you steal $100 from a convenience store. Fraud is often treated as a civil matter, not a criminal one. So con artists are slapped with fines, not handcuffs, and often use other people's money to pay those fines. Scammers learn quickly. If you wear a suit and speak with confidence, the system treats you differently. 2. Media glorification and celebrity culture. Let's be honest, the American media loves a good scammer. Hollywood gave us Catch Me If You Can, glorifying Frank Abagnale, a man who impersonated doctors, pilots, and lawyers while defrauding banks across the country. The Wolf of Wall Street turned Jordan Belfort into a cult figure. Leonardo DiCaprio's portrayal turned a criminal into an icon. Today, Belfort gives motivational speeches and sells sales courses. Netflix produced entire docuseries on Annabelle Elizabeth Holmes and Tinder swindler. And guess what? Their social followings exploded afterward. Some even got book deals and agents. It's the ultimate irony. The people who committed fraud end up profiting from the very crimes they committed. In America, the comeback story is everything, even if it starts in a courtroom. And let's not forget social media. On Instagram and TikTok, scammers don't even need media gatekeepers. They create their own mythologies. Filters, fake followers, luxury rentals disguised as personal wealth all contribute to a curated illusion of success, and people eat it up. 3. Capitalism and the gospel of wealth. At its core, America operates on a capitalist system that equates wealth with morality, success, and intelligence. If you're rich, you're smart. If you're poor, you've failed. If you bend the rules and win, you're just playing the game. This mindset creates a dangerous grey area where ethics become optional, and where deceit is rationalized as entrepreneurship. Scammers often frame themselves as underdogs or innovators. They market fraud as financial literacy, exploitation as hustle, and manipulation as persuasion. Think about the proliferation of MLMs, dropshipping scams, crypto pump and dumps, and financial freedom coaches who exploit people's hopes while enriching themselves. They don't just scam, they teach others how to scam. It's fraud as a franchise. And because the goal of capitalism is to generate profit, not equity, not fairness, not truth, the system rarely punishes those who exploit it. It admires them. 4. Broken enforcement mechanisms. Even when someone gets caught, enforcement agencies often lack the funding, staff, or teeth to make justice stick. Agencies like the FTC, SEC, and DOJ are stretched thin. Investigations can take years, by which time the scammer has moved on, hidden assets, or reinvented themselves under a new brand. There's also a deep political resistance to regulation, especially among pro-business lawmakers who argue that red tape stifles growth. So regulators are expected to police a multi-billion-dollar fraud economy with duct tape and good intentions. And sometimes they don't even want to, because lobbyists from finance, tech, and corporate sectors push hard to limit regulatory power. The very people writing the rules are often friends with or funded by the rule breakers. And finally, let's talk about something intangible but powerful: cognitive dissonance. Americans are taught to believe hard work leads to success. The system is fair. You are in control of your destiny. But when reality contradicts that, when people work hard and still struggle or see scammers getting rich, it creates discomfort. So what happens? We justify the scammer's success. We say, at least they're smart. They didn't hurt anyone. They beat the system, and maybe I can too. We root for them because we wish we had the guts to do the same. It's not just that the system fails to stop scammers, it's that the system and the culture often wants them to win. Recap what this all means. So let's summarize. The legal system is too slow and weak to hold scammers accountable. The media glamorizes them. Capitalism rewards manipulation. Political structures protect them. And the culture, deep down, envies them. Scammers are not glitches in the American system. They are products of it. They thrive because the conditions are perfect. Because in America, success isn't just about what you've built. It's about what you can sell, whether it's real or not. Now that we've broken down how the system props up scammers legally, socially, and culturally, it's time to talk about what often gets overlooked: the fallout, the damage, the human cost. Because while we memify grifters and glamorize their schemes, real people are losing real money, dignity, security, and sometimes even their lives. Let's pull focus away from the scammer for a moment and center the victims. Ordinary people, extraordinary loss. Scams don't usually target the wealthy. They target the aspirational, the hopeful, the financially desperate, the lonely. In romance scams, victims, often elderly, widowed, or isolated, are manipulated into giving their life savings to someone they've never met. In MLM schemes, stay-at-home moms or struggling young adults invest in starter kits, hoping for financial independence, only to end up in debt, cut off from skeptical loved ones and emotionally wrecked. Crypto rug pulls and pump and dump schemes promise riches to people who feel left out of traditional wealth building, and they lose everything in the blink of a blockchain. These aren't minor inconveniences, they're devastations: foreclosures, divorces, mental health crises, suicide. Scams may look glamorous on the surface, but their victims often endure quiet, crushing ruin. Let's be clear, not all victims are equal in the eyes of the system. The most vulnerable are the elderly, often targeted by Medicare fraud, reverse mortgage scams, or grandparent phone cons. Immigrants, exploited through fake legal services or promises of work visas. People of colour, disproportionately affected by predatory financial scams, subprime loans, and fraudulent business coaching programs. Women, especially single mothers and aspiring entrepreneurs, who are heavily targeted by lifestyle and self-help grifts dressed in empowerment language. And here's the twisted part. Many victims are made to feel responsible. They're told, "You should have known better. Didn't you read the fine print? Well, you were being greedy." That's how scammers win twice. They take your money, and then the culture takes your dignity. Scams destroy more than bank accounts. Yes, money is a big part of the fallout, but it's not the only cost. Emotional and psychological trauma. Victims often experience shame and self-blame, anxiety, depression, and PTSD, breakdown in trust in people, in institutions, in themselves. Imagine finding out your fiancé was fake, or your mentor was a manipulative liar, or your retirement savings are gone. The trauma is deep, personal, and long-lasting. Social fallout. Many victims withdraw from loved ones out of embarrassment, lose marriages, friendships, and community standing, are stigmatized as fools or gullible. Scams isolate, and isolation creates new vulnerabilities, which can make people targets again. It's a vicious cycle. The cost of scams isn't just personal, it's national. In 2023, Americans reported over $10 billion in fraud losses, a record high according to the FTC. That's just what was reported. The real number is likely much higher. Scams clog the court system, burden regulatory agencies, and erode trust in entire industries, like banking, crypto, healthcare, and online retail. Investment scams and fraud-based bankruptcies destabilize local economies, cause layoffs, and reduce consumer confidence. When fraud goes unchecked, it becomes baked into the system, and everyone pays for it, even if they don't realize it. Let's talk about what happens after someone is scammed. Most victims never see their money again, never get legal recourse, never hear a real apology. Even in high-profile cases, restitution is minimal or symbolic. Elizabeth Holmes scammed investors out of hundreds of millions and received a light prison sentence. But how many patients were misdiagnosed by Theranos blood tests? How many lives were impacted? Who pays for that? Bernie Madoff's victims, over 37,000 people in 136 countries, included charities, retirees, and foundations. Many never recovered. Justice for victims is slow, patchy, and inconsistent, and in many cases there is no justice at all. Because remember, scammers are often skilled at hiding assets, stalling proceedings, and playing the system. There's a reason victims stay silent. The American dream teaches us that if we fail, it's our fault. So when someone falls for a scam, they internalize the blame, even when they were manipulated by a seasoned con artist. Victims are often told, "That's what you get for being greedy. You should have seen the red flags. It's not illegal to be dumb." This toxic attitude silences survivors, emboldens scammers, and normalizes deception. We can't fight scam culture if we keep shaming its casualties. Ultimately, scams chip away at the social contract. They erode trust in systems. They normalize lies and illusion. They teach people that ethics are optional and that success is all that matters. When fraud is celebrated and victims are humiliated, we send a clear message. In America, it's better to be the scammer than the scammed, and that poisons the collective soul. Let's summarize this segment. The financial losses are staggering, but the emotional and social toll is worse. The most vulnerable groups are the easiest targets. Many victims are shamed, ignored, or left to fend for themselves. The legal system fails to provide closure or compensation, and the long-term damage infects entire institutions and erodes public trust. We cannot talk about our obsession with scammers without confronting the real people they leave behind. What this obsession says about us as a culture, a country, and a people. Let's take a breath. We've pulled back the layers, the cult of the con, the history of the hustle, the system that enables it, and the people who pay the price. Now it's time to face the hardest question of all. Why are we, as a culture, so drawn to these people? Why do we admire the scammer while shaming the scammed? Because this isn't just about bad actors. It's about us, what we reward, what we believe, what we value, and what we choose to look away from. Let's start with a tough truth. Scammers are the twisted personification of the American dream. Think about it. They reinvent themselves. They fake it till they make it. They take big risks. They chase money, influence, and prestige at all costs. Isn't that what we're told to do? We are raised in a culture that says you can be anything you want if you want it badly enough. But here's the shadow side. If you don't get it honestly, if you cheat the system, lie your way through, and manipulate others, you might still be admired because deep down we respect the hustle, even when it's hollow. Scammers are just playing the American dream on nightmare mode. 2. We confuse confidence with competence. In America, swagger sells. Speak with authority, and people will believe you. Act like a boss, and no one will question your credentials. Use the right buzzwords, and you'll get investor money, followers, attention. Confidence is currency in this culture. That's why people like Elizabeth Holmes or Adam Newman WeWork thrived for so long. They didn't sell a product, they sold a persona, and we bought it. Why? Because we conflate style with substance, charisma with credibility, ambition with integrity. It's a cultural glitch, and scammers exploit it expertly. The internet supercharges the fantasy. Social media didn't create scam culture, but it turbocharged it. On platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, anyone can look rich, powerful, or successful with a few filters and a rented Lamborghini. Fake gurus promise six-figure lifestyles if you buy their course. Crypto influencers hype coins they secretly plan to dump. Drop-shipping bros pose in Bali while their customers wait months for cheap AliExpress junk. These digital grifts work because we've all been conditioned to believe in the image, even if it's fake. Online, perception is reality until it collapses. And in a country obsessed with virality and attention, scammers thrive where validation outpaces verification. Entertainment blurs the moral line. Pop culture doesn't just reflect our values, it shapes them. And we've turned scammers into entertainment icons. Think about the shows we binge. These aren't just documentaries, they're dramatizations, stylized, humanized, even sympathetic portrayals. We get to see the scammers' struggle, their charisma, their backstory, and somewhere along the way we go from, how could they do this, to damn, they were good. The line between villain and anti-hero gets blurred, and the scam becomes aspirational. We worship success, no matter how it's made. In America, winning matters more than how you win. If you get rich, people will ask, how'd you do it, not who got hurt. If you rise fast, you'll get praise, not scrutiny. If you fail ethically, you might disappear. But if you succeed unethically, you get book deals, speaking gigs, a Netflix series. We reward results over integrity. That's why influencers who've been outed for scams often bounce back bigger than ever. Controversy brings attention, and attention sells. This culture doesn't just tolerate scammers, it recycles them into celebrities. Our institutions are failing, so people grasp at anything. Let's zoom out. Scams flourish in places where trust is broken, healthcare that bankrupts people, schools that leave students in debt with no job prospects, a job market that rewards connections over competence, government that feels distant and dysfunctional, people feel unprotected, unheard, and increasingly hopeless. So when someone comes along promising a shortcut to success, a backdoor to wealth, a new way to beat the system, they listen because they're tired of playing a rigged game. Scammers don't just exploit gullibility, they exploit desperation. And in a society where many feel left behind, the illusion of a better life becomes irresistible. It's easier to idolize than to interrogate. Here's the final and perhaps most uncomfortable truth. Scammers reflect parts of ourselves we don't want to admit. Our hunger for quick success, our envy of those who get ahead, our willingness to overlook red flags if someone tells us what we want to hear. It's easier to idolize the scammer than to confront how easily we were fooled, how little due diligence we do, how complicit we are in upholding systems that reward deception. Scam culture persists because it lives in us, in our dreams, our fears, and our endless thirst for status and certainty. So what does all of this say about us? That we are a nation deeply obsessed with appearances, that we've confused ambition with authenticity, that we are vulnerable, not because we're dumb, but because we're hungry for meaning, success, and connection. Scammers thrive not because we're broken, but because our culture tells us we need to be exceptional, enviable, and always winning. And scammers sell that fantasy. Until we redefine what success looks like and who deserves our admiration, the cycle will continue. The next con artist is already out there, selling and waiting for us to look away. So what do we do with all of this? After peeling back the glossy layers, exposing the cracks in our cultural psyche, and sitting with some uncomfortable truths, we're left with a haunting reflection. America doesn't just tolerate the scammer, we elevate them. We tell ourselves it's about innovation, about chasing dreams, about disruption, hustle, and breaking the mold. But at some point, we stopped asking how people succeed, and we only cared that they did. The con artist thrives in that gap, where ethics are optional and image is everything. We've handed them the script, and in doing so, we've handed over our trust, our money, our time, and sometimes even our admiration. But here's the thing. We can rewrite the story. This isn't just a takedown of grifters, Ponzi pushers, and fraudulent influencers. It's a wake-up call for all of us to stop rewarding style over substance, to stop mistaking confidence for credibility, to stop confusing virality with value, and maybe most of all, to stop idolizing people who exploit our fears, manipulate our dreams, and profit from illusion. Because we deserve better. We deserve role models who build with integrity, not deception. We deserve systems that protect truth, not charisma. And we deserve to value ourselves enough to stop chasing what looks good and start demanding what is good. We don't need to cancel ambition, we just need to stop applauding people who weaponize it. So the next time someone comes along with the perfect pitch, the rags to riches story, the too good to be true glow, pause, ask questions, peel back the filter. Because behind every polished fraud is a pile of shattered trust, unpaid bills, and people left in the wreckage. America, it's time to love the truth more than the lie. If this episode made you think, share it. If it made you uncomfortable, sit with it. If it made you angry, maybe that's a sign it needed to be said. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay human.